The wife of drug kingpin El Chapo has been released from a Long Beach halfway house. Emma Aispuro was convicted in 2021 of drug trafficking and money laundering. Her husband, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, ran the Sinaloa drug cartel and is currently at a Supermax prison in Colorado.
When El Chapo was arrested and sentenced to life in prison at the ADX Florence, his wife Emma stood by his side. She even went on interviews to complain about El Chapo's conditions inside his tiny prison cell.
Nosotros lo que pedimos es que lo atiendan y que pues apliquen los derechos humanos con él. No estamos pidiendo algo otra cosa, solamente lo...
But those who read between the lines or looked at Emma's behavior saw a different story. Was Emma happy her husband was finally locked away? Did she finally feel her daughters were safe? Then, Emma herself was arrested, but today she's being released. She can go back to raising her daughters. Is she safe, though? After testifying against her husband and telling Sinaloa secrets to news outlets, can Emma even visit Mexico? And will she live a quiet lifestyle? Or will she go back to being the Sinaloa Kardashian? We'll explore these questions and many more in today's video. During El Chapo's 2017 trial in the United States, Emma Coronel Aispuro was inside the courtroom every day. She blew kisses to her husband or just sat there poker-faced as she listened to some of the worst things El Chapo had done. That's right, Emma listened to counts and counts of brutal crimes that El Chapo personally carried out, and not an ounce of emotion was seen on her face. She knew. According to one of his former bodyguards, El Chapo took pleasure in prolonging the pain of rival cartel members in stomach-turning ways. In 2010, after having 36-year-old Hugo Hernandez grabbed and taken to his interrogation house, El Chapo personally made sure he would be found in several boxes across Los Mochis. One of the parts was found at City Hall with a note written by El Chapo. The note read, "Happy New Year, because this will be your last." Imagine seeing this on your way to work. But Emma wasn't fazed listening to this. Even the ex-Sinaloa guard testifying to this, known as Memine, seemed a bit more disturbed. Memine's testimony against El Chapo was so graphic that Judge Brian Coggin interrupted him, saying, "Could we have less narrative, please?" Memine testified to another incident. In 2006, El Chapo's men brought a rival cartel member to one of his mountain hideouts to interrogate him about his cartel. When he arrived at El Chapo's place, the man was already covered in marks and bruises. El Chapo complained about his condition, then proceeded to put him on ice in a chicken coop and leave him there for days until he began to fester. We told Mr. Joaquin that this man had a bad odor because he was decomposing in a way. This poor man was decomposing while he was still alive. He was buried the same way a few days later. The following year, El Chapo received 2 Los Zetas sicarios from his own soldiers. He personally took care of them. Memine remembered things El Chapo did to them that made even his sicarios shiver. But Emma remained blasé in the courthouse. Here's the thing. During the same trial, a few text messages between her and El Chapo were played in court. Emma knew everything. The two chatted casually about illegal deals and unaliving people. They even joked about their twin daughters becoming just like their father. "Our Kiki is fearless. I'm going to give her an AK-47 so she can hang with me." Until that point, Emma had feigned ignorance. She said she had no idea what her husband did and had never been a part of it. Now she couldn't deny it anymore. Her arrest was imminent. Emma Coronel Aispuro was born in San Francisco, California on July 2, 1989. She was the daughter of Bianca and Inez. Her father was a cattle rancher, but he was also an active member of the Sinaloa cartel. Her uncle, Ignacio Coronel, was one of Mexico's most dangerous sicarios. So Emma grew up learning that you could make a lot of money working for the cartel. In 1989, when Emma was born, El Chapo was already a feared criminal. He was born in 1957. Making him 32 years her senior. In fact, El Chapo has children older than Emma. His firstborn daughter, Alejandrina, was born in 1977. Emma grew up in a world of contrasts. On one hand, brutal sicarios, and on the other hand, high school beauty pageants and California riches. When she was in high school, Emma won the Coffee and Guava beauty pageant. Reportedly, El Chapo had his eyes set on her shortly before the pageant, and it was because of him that she won. It's disgusting that El Chapo decided she would be his, just like that. She was his 17-year-old object, while he was 50. When Emma turned 18, she married El Chapo on the same day. Even then, Emma couldn't feign ignorance. Their wedding was attended by dozens of high-ranking officials, politicians, and of course, cartel members. Also, when they got married in 2007, El Chapo was already a famous fugitive. It was nationwide news when he escaped prison in 2001, and law enforcement was working hard to get him arrested again. In 2014, he was arrested and sentenced to prison again in Mexico. He escaped again, and this time, Emma bought property where El Chapo's escape tunnel led to. The question is, was Emma manipulated into an arrangement she felt trapped in, or did El Chapo's money and status appeal to her beyond reason? After El Chapo's third and final arrest, Emma looked like the perfect, loyal wife. No matter how serious the accusations got, she maintained a clear stance of doing, in her words, what a wife is supposed to do.
¿Por qué es importante para ti estar ahí?
Bueno, yo pienso que es lo que haría cualquier esposa en mi lugar, ¿no? Estar con su esposo en momentos difíciles, que son los que está pasando en este momento, de una forma u otra, para que me sienta y me vea presente y se sienta con mi apoyo.
In 2011, Emma gave birth to twin girls, Emily and Maria. Emma went to California to give birth, as she had dual citizenship.
¿Ustedes por qué deciden tenerlas a ellas en California?
Como yo nací allá, supuso que era buena idea que también fueran ciudadanas americanas.
¿Por qué es buena idea ser ciudadano americano?
Por si quieres vivir en otro país, pues Estados Unidos se me hace buena elección y pues necesito que ellas estén donde yo estoy.
So Emma is not completely oblivious to the dangers of raising your child in the Sinaloa cartel. There's another clue here. On the girls' birth certificates, the father is completely left out. It seems like Emma is trying to shield her girls from any risk that comes with being El Chapo's daughters. After all, at the time of their birth, there was a $5 million reward for El Chapo's capture. At the conclusion of his trial, El Chapo was found guilty of 10 charges, with several people, including El Mayo's family, testifying against him.
This conviction, we expect, will bring a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. It is a sentence from which there is no escape and no return.
Stories of unaliving people, bribery, and violent trafficking earned El Chapo a life sentence. One witness even testified to El Chapo making a $100 million bribe to a former Mexican president. But when Emma was interviewed during El Chapo's 2018 trial, she said the witnesses had lied in order to get lighter sentences.
Pero pues obviamente hay que recordar que esas son personas que les dieron vida, ¿no? Entonces pues ellos van a decir cualquier cosa o para tener algún beneficio, entonces pues no me clavo mucho en esas cosas.
What if she's the one saying anything to cover for herself or her husband? At this point, she was known as the Kardashian of the Sinaloa. That's because during her husband's trial, she appeared at the courthouse dressed in new designer clothes every day. She would seek the cameras and take to social media to flaunt her wealth and luxurious lifestyle, while El Chapo was on trial for making illicit billions from the narcotics trade.
Ahora, yo también te he visto que estás, desde que tú llegas, se le ilumina la cara al Chapo. Es algo que nunca habíamos visto los periodistas cuando vimos las audiencias, pero cuando tú entras a corte, se le ilumina la cara. Te saluda. ¿Qué sientes en ese momento cuando lo ves de esa manera?
No, pues muy contenta de que a pesar de la situación en la que está pasando, de lo fuerte que es todo esto para él y para nosotros, verlo que sonreía o que se emociona, pues es una tranquilidad que me da como que...
Emma protected El Chapo fiercely in front of the media.
Claro que sí, de repente me molestan, como cualquier persona, ¿no? Que estén diciendo cosas de una persona cuando tú sabes lo contrario, entonces, pero no, me trato de no enfocarme en comentarios negativos o ese tipo de cosas, cuando yo sé que no es verdad, pues no.
Does El Chapo control his wife, too?
He really controlled his entire empire, and he did it on purpose. Chapo didn't trust anyone.
If Emma ever admitted to El Chapo's actions, two things could happen. One, El Chapo might want to get his revenge. The cartel is very serious when it comes to ratting them out. Two, the authorities might seize her assets. After all, they were obtained with blood money, and who would want to lose such a lavish lifestyle? Emma seemed to flourish after El Chapo's arrest. Until 2016, she laid low. Now she had 500,000 followers on Instagram, threw lavish parties for her daughters, and even launched a fashion line trademarked El Chapo. In interviews, Emma pleaded that the U.S. government respect El Chapo's basic rights and complained about the conditions at the ADX Florence.
Nosotros lo que pedimos es que lo atiendan y que pues apliquen los derechos humanos con él. No estamos pidiendo algo otra cosa, solamente lo...
But on other kinds of TV shows, she appeared alongside other cartel members and talked about what it's like being the wife of a notorious kingpin. Shortly after El Chapo's sentencing, Emma threw a huge Barbie-themed party for her daughters. Maria and Emily had several balloon arches, suites, and an entire ballroom decorated with Barbie paraphernalia. For many people, this was highly offensive. This party was paid for with money made from unspeakable crimes. His wife shouldn't have access to this money. It should be seized by the government. Indeed, El Chapo was ordered to forfeit the staggering sum of $12.6 billion, a rough estimate of the cash he stole. And yet, Emma didn't seem bothered by this. When a journalist asked her about how much she knew about El Chapo's crimes, she said, "If I had known something, I wouldn't have been able to sleep or eat from desperation. I had no idea." Honestly, how can some people have zero shame? Her innocent, devoted wife mask finally fell in 2021 with her arrest. Emma was charged with and arrested for conspiracy, trafficking, and helping El Chapo escape from prison in 2015. In November 2021, she pleaded guilty and finally admitted to her involvement with the Sinaloa cartel. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison. She also admitted to acting as a courier between Guzman, who led the cartel, and other organization members while he was being held in Mexico's Altiplano prison after his 2014 arrest. She also had to forfeit $1.5 million and will be supervised for 4 years after her release.
The wife of drug kingpin El Chapo has been released from a Long Beach halfway house. Emma Aispuro was convicted in 2021 of drug trafficking and money laundering. She was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. In June, she was moved to a halfway house, which typically happens to non-violent prisoners who exhibit good behavior.
Emma will be supervised for another 2 years. Now she can be with her daughters, but is she safe? Here's the final twist. In the cartel world, there's an unspoken rule about narco wives keeping quiet and not flaunting their riches. You're not exactly protecting your husband from arrest if you're bragging about what you bought yourself with his blood money. Journalist Annabelle Hernandez, who wrote a book on Emma, has a theory. According to Annabelle, Emma was getting her revenge on El Chapo. El Chapo was seriously unfaithful to Emma, the opposite of what she was to him. She protected him, covered for his crimes, helped him escape, and put herself in harm's way for him. And yet, he continued to sleep with other women and commit heinous crimes every single day. So the minute Emma realized her husband would never leave prison again, she decided to make him see what he was losing. Even during his trial, Emma was seen smiling outside the courtroom and engaging in pleasant chats with the reporters. She even offered them cookies. She wasn't sad about her husband's ordeal. She was happy to be the center of attention, to steal his thunder. From prison, she couldn't do the same. In fact, whatever fans she had now knew she was not that innocent either. So what will happen now? Will Emma visit her husband in prison after breaking the Sinaloa code? A volatile, power-obsessed man like El Chapo is bound to be angry with her. While he can't do much from the state's highest security prison, his sons still rule the Sinaloa cartel, and they can exercise their revenge on Emma. It's likely Emma will keep away from Mexico and stick with her family in California. But even so, it's unlikely she will be able to flaunt her riches the same way now. She and El Chapo had to return a lot of stolen money. Plus, if she goes Kardashian again, the DEA and the Sinaloa cartel will be on her tail even harder. It will be interesting to see what waves Emma's fresh release will make and what she'll do to keep herself and her daughters safe. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on Emma Coronel? Will the Sinaloa cartel punish her? Let me know what you think in a comment, and before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and click that bell button so you never miss a new episode. See you next time.